Okay. Uh, Thanks and good day, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are. I just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm Jonathan Egan. I'm the Program Manager for Identity and Access Management here at CANARIE. And part of the program, a big part of the program is the Canadian Access Federation, which includes both Jerome and our hot topic for today, FIM, or the Federated Identity Management. So today, what we wanted to do is introduce a pilot project that we're kicking off. There we go. So before I get into that, I just want to let everyone know that we're going to record the webinar for obviously for anyone who wasn't able to make it. So this, with regards to our CANARIE policy on this, we'll be archiving this on our YouTube channel. And just to let you know that that we'll also be using the translation app called Wordly. So this is available if you require translation. The webinar today is going to be in English, but translation will be available through Wordly. So that's an app that's available through Zoom. So if you have any difficulties getting the app started, you can just send a message to CANARIE Webinar. So that's my colleague Victoria that will be there and obviously helping to get you set up with that. So let's kick right off into the webinar. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the pilot that we're running, what our goals are, and then I'll introduce you to some of our partners. So we've got Karen Cato from Cirrus Identity, as well as Dave Steeves from Steeves and Associates. So they're going to talk a bit about their products and services. And then we've also got Cherise Arrowwood here from Unicon, and she's going to talk about some of their offerings. So we'll save some time at the end for any questions that you might have. So we have the ability, so you can unmute your microphone to ask, or maybe just raise your hand so not everyone's talking at the same time. Or feel free to, if you're more comfortable, to put your question into the chat, and we'll go through and try to address as many questions as possible. And also after today, after the webinar, I'll be able to share the materials that we present, as well as contact information for Cirrus Identity and Unicon as well. So with that, we'll kind of launch right into it. So we'll talk a bit about the pilot and, what is it exactly we're doing. So I joined CANARIE about 1.5 years ago and took over as program manager for identity and access management. And I started to hear just anecdotally from some of our community around difficulties that institutions may be having in managing shibboleth in order to participate in FIM. So I kind of wanted to understand this a bit more. And so what were some of the reasons and what were some of the solutions that different institutions were implementing? And so essentially, from a program perspective, CANARIE wants to understand, like, what are the impacts that institutions within the Canadian Access Federation have from moving from shibboleth to a vendor-supported solution. And so, we've seen not only, I think, obviously questions and anecdotally just conversations I've had, but we've seen a rise in the support ticket volume from organizations needing more and more assistance with shibboleth. So really, what we want to be able to accomplish through this pilot is we're looking for 10 existing CAF participants who are looking to move from their on-premises shibboleth to a managed service solution. And so obviously there's more than one option here, and we're here to kind of lay out what options we want you to take a look at. So what's in it for you as an organization? So for the 10 organizations that are willing to participate in the pilot today, or this year rather, we're going to subsidize up to $13,500. That's Canadian dollars. To the institution to reimburse costs that you would incur to participate into the pilot. And so as I mentioned, the two vendors that we know are already in the Canadian market supporting other institutions with FIM. So these are all solutions that we know are being used today successfully by institutions to participate in FIM. And obviously, with a vendor-supported solution, they would supply any support and security patching that goes along with keeping those solutions up to date. And obviously, some of the things we've heard from organizations is that they're looking to maybe get rid of, but reduce their on-premise infrastructure, looking for more of a hosted solution or something that's maybe a little easier to stay on top of, patching or security updates. And so these are some of the rationale we've heard anecdotally on why some of our participants are moving to solutions like this. So from an expectations perspective, obviously we want something back as CANARIE. So we have an application process if you're interested in participating, and a participation agreement that each institution would need to sign with us. And we're looking at really two surveys that we want completed throughout the course of the pilot. The first being after the implementation with the vendor-supported solution is complete, and then within 6 months of being in operation. So again, from a CANARIE perspective, we want to understand, what are some of the benefits? What are some of the, if you experience challenges, what are some of those challenges? And, how is life better or different throughout this? And so we would then, as CANARIE, we would reimburse or the subsidy after the implementation is done. So schools will be responsible for paying either Cirrus Identity or Unicon directly, and then submit their receipt to us, and we would then pay that. So without further ado, and recognizing that some of you may have questions, we'll save those maybe to the end. I'll introduce Karen Cato from Cirrus Identity to walk you through their offerings. And I'll stop sharing, Karen, and let you take over.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Good day, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Everybody can see that? Yes? All right.
Yes. Go ahead.
Great. Well, I am Karen Cato. I am the Sales and Marketing Director at Cirrus Identity. Been here about 6 years, but all my experience comes from UC, University of California at Berkeley. I managed various IT teams while I was at Berkeley, and it kind of helps to have a hand in lots of different areas prior to joining Cirrus. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cirrus Identity and Steve's and Associates who we work with. And then we'll dive into the bridge and do a quick demo so you get a flavor. Sorry, there we go. So a little bit about us and Steve's. Cirrus Identity has been in business for over 10 years now, and we really focus on SaaS offerings for higher ed and research, cloud hosted. And Steve's is a Microsoft Cloud partner and also been in business quite a while. And together, we have been partners since 2022. We have very similar styles of working with our customers. Um, Steve's is our reseller in Canada. We have over 15 shared customers, and Steve's handles all the procurement and tier one support and some of the implementations, and Cirrus provides the product and tier two support and production support. Just a little bit about us. These are some of our customers, or all of our current Canadian customers. So we're in we've implemented in several schools in British Columbia, but other provinces as well. And just wanted to mention, so Cirrus is now listed as the #1 solution by Microsoft for multilateral federation and CAS support. So about 2 years ago, Microsoft came out with a reference architecture, and you can check those links out afterwards when you get the slides. Also, just a quick mention, today we're going to focus in on our bridge solutions, but we also have a proxy solution for simplifies, streamlines shared access, access to shared applications. So really good solution for alumni, continuing ed, researchers. So with no further ado, I'm going to dive into the bridge. So the Cirrus Bridge is a hosted and managed solution, and we kind of replace the need to run Shibboleth. So it provides the multilateral federation support for intra-ID, but also other commercial identity providers like Okta or Duo. And with the SAML bridge, there's no need to maintain Shibboleth or CAS. We also have a CAS bridge. There's no need to change the configurations for the applications that are already integrated with your existing CAS or SHIB. And there's no need to change your CAF registration. So it really does go as quickly and easily as possible to a hosted solution. This is our high level architecture slide. And so basically, we have a CAS bridge and then we have a SAML bridge. Both can be integrated with Intra ID or Okta or others. And what this is showing is that you can still have all your bilaterally integrated applications with your primary identity provider. And then you can use our DNS add-on, which cuts over all the traffic that's currently hitting SHIB to the SAML bridge. And that will definitely be needed for the multilateral federation, anything that's CAF or EduGain application. Those will need to go through the bridge since Intra doesn't support that multilateral federation. And then also just on the CAS side, we have a bridge for that if you're running CAS services. This slide kind of talks through the flow of actually, I I think I skipped a slide, so I'm going to go back one. Sorry. Just want to mention that if all your authentication attributes are not in your Intra ID or Okta, we do have an attribute authority add-on. So at time of authentication, we can call out and pull in additional attributes if that's needed. Now, this slide kind of talks through the flow of a user through their browser, hitting an application provided through Edugain, like NIH. NIH reads the metadata and says, "Oh, in your case, you have shibboleth registered." Through our DNS add-on, we look at, instead of hitting shibboleth, we direct all that traffic to the SAML bridge. The SAML bridge is integrated with Intra ID. If the person doesn't already have an active session, they enter their username and password, and then that successful SAML assertion is sent back through the bridge to the application. And then we will work with you. As a default, we generally recommend at a minimum, you release the REFEDS research and scholarship attributes so that you're kind of fully leveraging the CAF Federation. And we also support the MFA auth in context. So applications like NIH, we use NIH in this example because they require that someone has two-factor authenticated. So we can pass that MFA auth in context back to the integrated SPs. Once we deploy a bridge, all of the configuration of it happens in the Intra ID portal or the Okta portal. And you can create multiple enterprise apps and group them by the attributes that need to be released. So you can have a default, perhaps that's just the REFEDS RNS attributes. And then you can have another enterprise app. Let's say you want to add employee ID to that one, but you don't want to release that to every application. So you can create an enterprise app in the Intra ID portal and assign multiple entity IDs to that enterprise app for all those applications that need employee ID. All of this is configurable by you, so it's, Cirrus will help guide you through it, but basically you don't need Cirrus. If another application comes along, you can go in and configure it yourself. So it's really self-service and fully integrated. This slide kind of talks about how our DNS cutover works. So what we do is we take this private signing certificate that's associated with your shibboleth service, and we copy it over to the SAML bridge. Then what happens is you can test. So on your testing device, say your testing laptop, you change your Etsy host file to point to the bridge. You make sure that the applications that that you want to test are authenticating as expected. The attributes are being released as expected. And then when you're ready, you can do a DNS change such that all the traffic that was hitting shibboleth now hits the bridge. And the beauty of this is that none of those applications, none of those SPs need to change their configuration, and your registration with CAF stays exactly as it is. So it really expedites the implementations. And it's also the same concept for the CAS bridge, except there's a testing bridge that has to be deployed to validate that the attributes for CAS are being passed as expected. Once you're in production, your all your usage data is available in our Cirrus console. That's the only time with the bridge that you need to log into our Cirrus console. We have a rolling 90 days of usage available, and you can access it at any time, download it if you want. This comes free. There's no additional service cost for this. But we also have a log API. So if you want to stream usage data to a SIM tool or a data warehouse, you can, that's an additional add-on that's available. Okay, so there's not a lot to see with the Cirrus bridge, but I thought I would do a really quick demo here. So this is the BCNet wiki, and this is what started our partnership with Steve's in BC. Basically, the BCNet wiki has all their member institutions, and if I go to, let me think here. Capilano is one of our customers. If I select Capilano and I hit continue, I'm basically traversing the bridge and I'm landing on their intra ID tenant. So the beauty here is regardless of whether a user is going through the bridge or going through hitting an application that is bilaterally integrated with Capilano's intra ID tenant, they're always going to see that intra ID login screen. So it can be the trusted solution. As I mentioned, there's not a lot to see because the bridge is really behind the scenes. So just some brief implementation notes. If you decided to go forward, we would schedule regular meetings with you, and we meet with you through through your implementation until you're in production. All of us here at Cirrus came from higher ed, so we can work with you. Steve's can work with you. We really know higher ed and research, and that basically enables you to implement as fast as possible. We're really guiding you through the process. We also have an optional service to do an inventory of if you have hundreds of applications that might be integrated with Shibboleth, we do have a service where we can look at the config files and help you organize what enterprise applications that you might set up. So kind of group your applications together. Typical timeframes for implementation are 2 to 8 weeks for SAML or CAS bridges individually, 8 to 12 weeks for complex integrations with many SPs. All our documentation is online, and we offer the 24/7 support, business hours for other questions and such. So we have a growing list of customers. I think we have over 130 bridges deployed now in the US and Canada. So it's a very tried and true, proven implementation pattern for us. And then we're just wrapping up. So it's an intuitive user experience for all your students, faculty, staff. They're going to see that intra ID login screen just like they do now. You can retire Shibboleth and CAS. No more patching, no more upgrades. Move to cloud-hosted solutions. Perhaps leverage some of the security features that are provided through those. And it's relatively fast to implement. And if you are interested in pricing, we can always meet to review that. I think that is it for me. So I can stop sharing and let Cherise share her slides, and then we can take questions at the end.
Thanks, Karen. Give me just a second here. Ooh, all these screens. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Cherise Arrowwood, Executive Director of Business Development with Unicon. Really excited to be here with you today to talk about our federated identity solutions. Just for a little bit of background on myself, I see a couple friendly faces, so that's awesome. Thank you for joining. And I see a lot of people that I do not know. So I've kind of built in a little extra layer of discussion about Unicon that we'll go over in just a minute. But I myself have actually been with Unicon for over 20 years. For about 8 of those years, had a strong focus and overall management of our identity and access management team. So that's obviously very relevant to this discussion. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Unicon. For those of you that I haven't worked with or we haven't worked with, you may not know a lot about Unicon. So I'm just going to go over some of the highlights and then going to drill down into a little bit about our identity and access management team, because they are special, they're somewhat unique, and I love touting that because I love them. They were my guys. Then I'm going to go into our 2 solutions. So we have an IDP in the cloud, and we have a federation gateway. All righty, so let's jump right into what is Unicon, who are we, and what do we do? So we are a technology consulting firm with a focus on education. What does that mean? That means we work with everybody from K through 12 all the way up through higher ed. So K through 20 and ed tech. Higher education has always been at the core of the customers that we work with. And that is my direct initiative, is working with all higher education companies. So our goal is really to be the partner of choice for innovation, for modernization, for the activities and the digital experiences that you want to move forward with, really to help users of any kind, right? If it's faculty, if it's staff, if it is your students, we want to work with you to utilize the technology, really to make things better for everyone. And we've done it, we have experience in it, and we believe in the value that really provides. Unicon has been around for over 31 years now. We've worked with many colleges and universities in the US, as well as in Canada and in Europe. So we're very well versed, and we have many different references if that's of interest. We work specifically in identity and access management, utilizing the open source tools. So obviously we're here to talk about Shibboleth today and some options around your IDP, which we'll all go into in just a minute. But we're very involved in the community as far as really just complementing, sharing information. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, our goal, if you remember anything about Unicon, it's really is that we have a passion for education. We believe in the value technology brings, and we are big collaborators with our customers. So we will always educate you on what we've done and why we've done it to meet your goals, and confirm that we've met your goals, and be there for support or a transition and handoff and a knowledge share so that you can do what you need to do. So next, I want to talk a little bit about our identity and access management team. They are awesome. I know many of you have already worked with a subset of them, but I want to explain a little bit more. So a couple of these bullet points are very high level. A dedicated IAM team with proven domain expertise. So this team is a team of specialists. They are not generalists that work on a variety of other domains. If you know Unicon, we do offer other services, which of course I could talk to you about later. But our identity and access management team, that is what they focus on day in, day out, because they love it, they enjoy it, and they're very good at it, and they stay very involved. They have deep domain expertise in one area or the whole area. It depends on the individual, but we offer both strategic as well as tactical, so that they have a picture outside of maybe the initial need that you specifically have. The other thing that I like to talk about is their higher education experience. And what I mean by that is they have over 110 years just on our identity and access management team of working for higher education institutions. So they've held roles such as the director of identity, or engineers in identity, architects, and many, many more. But it gives them a lot of experience from different perspectives that I'm sure you can interpret, right? So it gives them the value of really providing feedback to Unicon and the rest of our team on understanding more of the culture of higher education, or some of the politics and really the challenges that you have to go through before you even look at, oh, I have these IAM specific needs and I need your help. There's other elements that have to be considered, that our IAM team has that experience and exposure to those other elements. I briefly mentioned community involvement before. Our IAM team especially is very ingrained in the community. So specifically that ITAP bundle and Common Trusted Access Platform, which Shibboleth is one of the core tools. They're very involved at sitting in and participating in working groups or advisory committees to provide guidance on the tools and provide feedback that we gain from our higher education clients about the tools and how we can improve it and tighten it up and increase the sustainability and interoperability of those tools. They go to all of the 3 major conferences that are provided, specifically where Shibboleth and other tools are discussed, so that they can provide feedback and collaborate with higher education on the needs that are growing and what's working and what's not working, and coming up with solutions together to collaborate. So a lot of involvement there. The IAM team really just wants to help, to be there to support you. So they love their job. And when you work with Unicon, you're going to be working with those folks. So next, I'm going to jump into the examples of our solutions. I was going to ask a question, but it's going to be challenging for me to track it anyway. So it looks like we probably have 2 groups of people. A large group of people that are currently using Shibboleth or perhaps CAS, and then others that are using maybe Microsoft or Okta or whatever, one other identity solution. So we're going to talk about both of those and the way to actually move to a hosted and managed solution with Unicon. So the first one is our IDP in the cloud. So we've been working with many customers. We have many institutions already running this solution. And what is this? This is a hosted and managed solution that provides federated web SSO in the cloud, right? The beauty of this is the security it provides, the flexibility it provides, and the streamlined access to be able to have your users of all kinds, faculty, staff, any users coming on board that you would like to be able to get to the tools, the resources, and the applications that they need in a streamlined fashion. We provide all of the heavy lifting. We collaborate at the onset, but do all the heavy lifting as far as the tasks that need to be done to ensure that not only the application is configured the way you need it, but the infrastructure, because again, it's hosted and managed. So our infrastructure is a redundant deployment. It's load balance of, if you need an uptick or you need a downturn, we're going to be efficient about the infrastructure that's in place. It's highly available and fault tolerant. That's all the work that Unicon does, but you can have a comfort and confidence that you have a very strong foundation with the hosted Amazon Web Services infrastructure. They are also critical partners of ours that we work with on a daily basis. So now going into a little bit more of the IDP in the cloud, we do pretty much how Karen said, right? This is behind the scenes. So the goodness is your users are going to go to a login page and they're going to be able to use one set of credentials to get to those federated resources without having to use multiple sets of credentials. So any tools, any research materials, any applications, we're going to streamline that for you. So what does it really look like when we work with you? If this is something that is going to add value to you, things are wrapped up, we actually start with a kickoff. That kickoff involves us discussing the milestones, which are really in front of you, from discover through management. That kickoff call triggers that initial discovery session so that we can plan appropriately. And what that is about is really an assessment or uncovering where you are today. So with your Shibboleth deployment, your CAS deployment, where are you as far as what you have set up? How does that really marry up with your use cases? What is not working, right? Are you using another tool that's integrated? It's not allowing you to be fully federated, or are you just having challenges with the deployment itself? Those tools can be very complex. We understand that, which is why we work on them on a daily basis, and we can provide that guidance and get you to meet those requirements that you actually have. So we have the kickoff, then we go into discovery to learn all of that information. Then, and again, obviously that's very collaborative because you're providing that information. We're looking at your current deployments. Then Unicon goes off. We go ahead and set up the infrastructure, the application, and of course, configure that so that you can meet all of the needs within those use cases. Unicon does the initial validation, and then we jointly collaborate with you on that final validation and then hand off to you for user acceptance testing. We want to make sure that you're confident that you had hands-on and you know this is working. You're getting to those service providers, those tools, the application, research materials, whatever it might be, in a timely fashion, using that one set of credentials in a secure and confident way. So we answer your questions, provide you any additional guidance you need. When you've come to completion, you're feeling confident and comfortable with that deployment, then we agree on a production date. We move forward with it. Again, really just that slight DNS change. And then you are live. We are there for full support and management afterwards. So we get you to that live point. Again, Unicon doing the majority of the heavy lifting. Now we're doing all of the heavy lifting. So we're doing the full management of both the infrastructure and the application. We do all of your upgrades when they're available. We do all of any security patching that you might need, and we handle your additional service provider updates. So you might have, I don't know, 75 to start. We get that all set up as part of your initial deployment. And then later on, there might be other applications or tool or access that you just need to have. We have a streamlined process that you will go through, basically create a ticket, give us the service provider information, and Unicon does all the work to get that configured appropriately in your non-production IDP in the cloud deployment. You then do the validation, we agree upon a go to production date, and then that moves over to your production instance of IDP in the cloud. So it's very streamlined, very straightforward. And again, your part is really that initial, let's collaborate, uncover where you are today, so we make sure that those use cases are met. And then we continue that 24/7, 365 management, support, etc. So happy to answer any questions later about this one. The final solution I want to share with you today is called our Federation Gateway. So this is if you are in a situation where today you're using, maybe your Azure, your Entra as your IDP, or you're using Okta or using OneLogin, you are using an IDP that doesn't allow for a multilateral federation. Again, using a set of credentials to get to all the tools and the resources that you need. So this is a smaller, lighter lift of really just that gateway of integrating with the IDP of choice. And that's what Unicon's solution does. So in layman's terms, without going into anything technical, whatever IDP you are using, we can go ahead and integrate with that and provide that streamlined multilateral access to the federation of choice, EduGain, CAF, whatever it might be. This allows basically the same thing that we just talked about, you to get to all the tools that you need with very little work on the customer side. We have a very similar process to what I just described as far as the initial kickoff and what we do. It's fully hosted, it's fully managed, but there's very little that usually has to be done on the back end. So the heavy lifting is up front with Unicon doing that. But we walk through with you, are available across the board for any questions that you might have. Same thing with this solution. We're monitoring it 24/7, 365, and we're there to answer any questions. You'll use the same process to reach out. But pretty much when this is done, it's one and done with very little uptick that needs to happen because of the back end configuration. So time-wise, with both of these, we estimate approximately 3 months. Sometimes we can get these done in weeks. Sometimes it'll take twice the amount of time. It's really about availability of the school and Unicon and lining that stuff up. So if we're available and you're available and the information is readily available and streamlined, we can get that done pretty quickly. But we'll collaborate on that once we kick off based on the solution that meets your needs. And with that, I'm done. So happy to talk to you more as appropriate. Looking forward to some of the Q&A. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Charisse and Karen. Just before we open it up for questions, I just wanted to talk about the next steps. So if the pilot is something that you're interested in, it'd be great if you could just send me an email just to indicate your interest. And obviously then you can follow up with both vendors that we've introduced you to here today. So after the webinar, I'll be sending along their information as long as the materials that we've shared with you today. So if you decide to move forward and participate in the pilot, then you would hopefully submit your application to us, and I'll provide a link to our application form. And we're looking to get all of the applications for the end of March. So as I mentioned previously, we're looking to get 10 schools to join in on the pilot, and we're hoping to collect some great data on your experience and your insights. So we're looking to really take the learnings that we have here and see how we can apply them to the program in general as well. So if you have a question, feel free to either put your hand up in Zoom, or you can type it into the chat, and we can work through and answer any questions that come up.
How about, did everything Karen and I shared, did it resonate with you?
Is there? Oh, yes. So I think Karen and Charisse, if you want to address that one. So the question is there supported solutions for those who don't use Entra? Yeah, go ahead.
So on the Cirrus side, yes, we can integrate with pretty much all of the commercial identity providers, Intra, Okta, Duo, and anything SAML v2. LDAP. Jessica and team.
No, we don't have an offering that supports a direct LDAP integration.
So Unicon can handle both because we deal directly with Shibboleth and our IDP in the cloud. If you are using whatever directory, Active Directory, LDAP, it doesn't really matter. We're going to go ahead and use Shibboleth on the back end. So we're going to be able to integrate, and we can handle any of those solutions.
Okay, next question. Let's see here. Oh, good. They're coming in now. What about data residency for those who are constrained to Canadian servers? Karen, and then Charisse.
So for all of our existing customers, Cirrus Identity Solutions are hosted in AWS in the US. It has not been an issue so far with data residencies, so hopefully we could work that out.
So yes, oh, this is exciting. The questions are loading. Okay. Yeah, similar to Cirrus. So working with Amazon Web Services, we do use the US locations for the hosting. If there was something stable that's representative in Canada, we would do that. I personally am not aware of it, but I'll mark that down as a follow-up, just so that way everybody's aware. Maybe we can send that with the other information. I'll just kind of jump into the next one about Shibboleth, IDP, and CAS, and yes, Unicon can handle that.
And there's a question for Cirrus. A login to SAML, also SSOs for CAS? Question mark.
Yeah, if I'm understanding that question correctly, yes, we support both SAML and CAS with your identity provider. And then since I'm talking, I'll go into the next one. So attribute authority, we definitely support LDAP access. And in other situations, we also can talk to you about our API to pull attributes from other attribute stores.
And Karen, I'll chime in on the scripted attribute.
thank
So
you.
during the implementations, basically what we do is we review the code, and we don't do it the same way, but the commercial providers often have a lot of tools that allow us to get most of the way there. And then the Cirrus Bridge has a series of custom rules for things they can't support. And so what we do is we get to the same end result. We just have to be a little creative about it. And so it's part of the fun in the process. I'm actually, working with a customer right now on reviewing all of their scripted attributes. So it's definitely something we do. So.
Thanks, Jessica.
And let's see, there's a question two questions from Graham.
I think we just hit those,
We hit both of
Jonathan.
them?
Yeah.
You did. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Excellent. And
Not
let's
the
see,
second question, though. The
Oh.
second question is about how we wrap our shibboleths with CAS.
Great. Yeah, for both. We wrap our shibboleth IDP in CAS. SHIB differs to CAS for authentication, and CAS is where MFA is performed. Do either of your products support this?
And more importantly, I didn't put there CAS. CAS is what is setting and releasing the MFA was done attribute to shibboleth and passing it on.
And Unicon's IDP in the cloud can handle that.
And the way we do it is basically the MFA is set up in your commercial provider, and it will be the same for both. So.
And I see Deidre just had a comment in about Cirrus Identity doesn't store any user data in our bridge solution. We store only authentication logs for a retention period. And I think Dave also added regarding data residency, BC has been one of the provinces that has had additional data residency issues. We have had no issues with any of the PSIs in BC in that regard.
I guess I'll just,
Yeah.
oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll just jump in as far as data. So with our solutions, we do not store any data. And if anybody has any real technical questions, I'm happy to set up a call and bring one of our technical engineers and architects on who can go through the nitty gritty.
Right, and I'll chime in on that as well. And I really encourage everyone to connect with Unicon and Cirrus Identity as well. Just from a program perspective, one thing I've realized is that everyone, all schools have different architectures and different things that they're trying to manage, and I think. We're recognizing at CANARIE that there's not like a one size fits all type of approach that needs to be followed for this, and so that's why we really want to encourage you as institutions to figure out like what's going to be the best for you, just from cost perspective, management, and security, and how how your own internal IT processes are going to best be impacted through this. So having said that, I believe there's another question here. Can you talk about the licensing model and rough cost?
You want to go first, Karen?
Sure. So Cirrus bases our pricing on which modules do you need, so it's really flexible, and what's your annual authentication volume estimate. So it's a soft cap for us, but that's how our pricing is based on different usage tiers, with our minimum usage tier being at 1.5 million annual authentications.
Okay. So with Unicon, we don't have any licensing. we do have rough costs. So for our IDP in the cloud, and that's a production and a non-production, you're looking at about just over 35,000. And that's a yearly fee. We will lock it in based on the agreement if that's something you're interested in and want to move forward for several years so that you won't have an increase. There is a little bit of an uptick the first year because of the discovery and the setup. As far as the Federation Gateway, that's a lot lower cost. We have our initial intake and it's just over 16,000 a year. Oh, US, sorry.
Yeah, and just to describe the subsidy that CANARIE is giving is in Canadian dollars, so you can apply the
Yep.
exchange there. Yeah. Great. Okay, so just I think the questions are starting to slow down. So what I'll do is maybe we can wrap it up there. If you think of any additional questions, you can email me and I'll provide also Karen and Sharice's contact information. And so we encourage you to follow up. As I mentioned, we'll be providing all of the information that we shared today. And as well, links to the application form for the pilot project, as well as Karen and Sharice's contact info. So, yeah.
Jonathan, we're happy to meet with anyone. And okay, and Deidre just added our starting pricing is probably around 10,000. So just so you know.
Great. Awesome. Well,
right.
so that's great. So thanks everyone for taking the time to join us today. I hope this is something that's of interest to you, and we're looking forward to rolling ahead with this with the participation on this project. So I wish everyone a great day and hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much.